Hi there, I'm going to show you a fresh installation of Ubuntu running in VirtualBox. I'm going to check the C and C++ compilers because this is something you may find useful one day. I'm going to check Python, install idle, Eclipse and a web server. I'm also going to add Google Chrome and other utilities. So first of all, I'm going to check the C and C++ compilers. The version of Ubuntu does come with GNU-C, and you can type C into many text editors, but I'm going to use VI. VI is something that comes with every Unix system. It's something I'm used to. So you just type VI, or you can use Vim, VIM, and you type the name of the file that you want to edit. So just checking where I am, making sure that I have a directory available to put my example code in. So VI test.c, and what I need to do is press I to go into insert mode and then type my code. So I'm just including the standard input library for C. I'm just in insert mode, so I'm just typing away. Very basic C program, which is simply going to print a hello message on the screen. So I'm now pressing escape, WQ, :WQ. So I press the escape to actually get out of VI. And what I've just done is shown you that test.c is an ASCII text file. And when you compile it, you can see that test is a binary executable file. So that's all fine and that's all working. So the C compiler is okay. So the next thing to do is check Python and install idle for Python. Again, I'm just using VI. I find it quick and easy. I've been using it all my life, so it's something you get used to. It's not the easiest of editors, and I might suggest you type gedit, G-E-D-I-T, GNU edit, instead if you're struggling. So I'm just showing you the Python files that exist, all of the Python files. And you can see that Python is linking to Python 2.7. So I'm just going to create a Python test file. Again, I've gone into insert mode by pressing I, and I'm just going to create a basic print statement to just print hello on the screen again. Again, just testing that the interpreter works for Python, because you might want to use this. So you can now see that we have test.py, and I'm using Python 3 to test it. So that's all fine, that works. As shown, you can use gedit instead, so GNU editor instead of VI, so you don't really need to use VI. That's just something that I do quite quickly. Same script, and this is a nice easy way, a standard text editor. It is quite basic though. You might want to find yourself a better development environment eventually. So there it is running again. So I'm now going to install idle, which is quite useful for writing quick scripts. It's installed on Raspberry Pi as well, so it might give you some sort of consistency. We're using apt-cache search to get the exact name of the idle editor for Python 3.5. You get slightly different one for Python 2.7. So I need to be super user to do this. Type it in again. And as you'll see, it's called idle-python 3.5. So I'm going to do apt-get install. to install idle for Python 3.5. That doesn't take very long at all, and once it's installed you'll find it in the menus. You'll see it in your programming menu, or you can just type it in if you're using Ubuntu. So that'll allow you to edit your Python scripts if you choose File, Open, or File, New File, and start typing a script into there. So that's the third way of editing your Python script and running your script. Clear is useful just to clear the screen when the terminal becomes a little bit too noisy. So I'm now going to install the Eclipse development environment, so you don't really want to use VI. This is traditionally used for Java, but you can include other languages. It is a multiple platform development environment, and so I've just searched for Eclipse just to find out what the package name is using apt cache search Eclipse. As you can see up there, the name is just Eclipse, and so I will use apt-get space install with the name of the package being Eclipse. That'll take a minute or so. So Eclipse can be run on Windows, Apple Mac, Unix, all Linux flavours, and the Raspberry Pi. It is worth getting to know because some industry, especially the high-end computing industries, do use Eclipse. It provides for multiple platform development environment, and it can link to code management, code version control systems, and link off to networked development servers as well. It's very powerful. Not everyone likes it, but it is widely used. It's not installed into the Windows registry as well, so you can run it off a disk and carry it around with you if needed. So I'm now going to check Eclipse, open up the Eclipse application, which you can go and search for using the Ubuntu search box. Otherwise you'll find it in the programs area of your menu, so your main menu for Linux. You'll often find a desktop icon for it as well. It will try to create a workspace in your home area, so you can choose that or change it, and then you could actually allow that to be the default for all future work that you do. So use this as the default for all future developments using Eclipse. So it's now creating the workspace, and you get a welcome message where you can link off to various tutorials and examples, which is quite useful. It's quite a large application and extremely powerful, so you might want to have a look around, but the default is to provide you with a Java-based environment for development, so you do need to go and set it up to allow yourself to work with other languages. This here is a list of repositories where you can download all the additional tools that you need. So here I'm choosing to pick C++ by typing C++ into the search box. As you can see just above, it's provided me with a list of options. I can select those, and I'm now just scrolling through the details. It's a little bit awkward. I couldn't resize that very easily. I'm taking away certain things because they were duplicated, and just again checking any further details before I go ahead and install it. And you'll see there that I also have 2 of those. So now I'm going to install those 4 tools, and that should be fine. So I can press next and accept So I press next and then finish. It's now installing the GNU C and C++ software that I need in order to incorporate it into Eclipse. That takes a while because it's downloading it from an external website, which is called a software repository, something you will need to get used to. So we're restarting Eclipse to allow those changes to take place, and we should be able to create a new C project or a new C++ project. Again, when you're testing, just use a very simple program. You don't need to make it too complex at the start when you've installed it. So we're going to choose a C++ example or a C example. This is just to show you that you can get a wealth of information on using C and how to use Eclipse and how to create projects and so on. So you can close that welcome box and then just create a new project. The menu, as you hover over Eclipse, appears at the top. You have to get used to that. A bit awkward. And then you can choose C and C++, and they were not there with the initial installation. Just create a simple hello world, give it a name. That will be created in my workspace area. So it's just saying, do I want to associate with C++ instead of Java? Yes, I do. And that's a very, very basic C program. It's using putS to put a string onto the screen. I just need to build this first, so it's a case of finding your way around the menu options. Building it will actually compile and link, and now you can run it using the green arrow. So that's all working. So I could do C, C++, Java, even PHP via Eclipse. You'd need to go and find the PHP tools to also include that as well. So if you want to just do basic web development, you can just type web and you'll receive a list. Again, it's quite awkward, the little gap that you get to play with there. So I've had to expand the whole box to allow me to see. It's just a case of experimenting. When you first install Eclipse, you don't need to worry too much, because you could always start again. If it all goes horribly wrong, you can just remove it and start again, or overwrite it. So when you're experimenting and learning, just learn as much as you can, try as many things as you can, and don't worry about it. Not everything works perfectly straight away. So again, this is going to a repository and installing the software for the web development. And again, you can go into some helpful web pages if you wish. So that's just restarting Eclipse after installing the latest software. I don't tend to use this for web development, but I'm just giving you a demonstration. There are other tools that I prefer to use. For example, Phpstorm for PHP development. I tend to like tools that are very quick and easy to use. So this is giving you an example of starting a static web project. Give it any old name, the usual test web. There is no runtime environment set up at the moment. Just choose everything as default and you'll see that you can start making some web pages. So I haven't bothered to set up a runtime environment at all, because I'd need to go and set that up later on, and I don't have that set up at this stage. You could go back to that once there's a web server set up. So the next thing is to install Apache and start getting the LAMP stack, which is Linux, Apache 2, MySQL and PHP for this version at this time. I'm sure it'll change in the future. So apt-get update first to update my system before I add Apache, then install Apache 2. So we've installed Apache, and soon you'll be able to see that that's still running. ps-ef grep Apache 2. So give me all the processes and then pipe it to the grep function. Now I'm going to install MySQL Server, MySQL-server using apt-get install. Enter in a root password, simple one, just for this demonstration. Have a look at the messages as it does the installation, just to make sure everything is going well. So I'm now going to check the installation, configure it, and then install PHP. MySQL Server isn't running straight away. So the next thing, before installing the PHP, I just want to check Apache using Apache CTL. You can go away and research those, they're quite straightforward. There's lots of online tutorials on this. Just making sure that everything's okay. This is just saying that it doesn't know what the server name is because I haven't configured it, so it's using 127.0.1.1, which is a loopback for the server. So you can actually go into etc Apache 2 to configure that and give it a server name. That might stop it from complaining anyway. Here's another text editor example, Nano instead of VI, just to show you an alternative. Some people like this, and again it works well if you haven't got a graphical interface, which you don't always have on a server. So what I'm doing is I'm just having a little look through that just to show you what the configuration file looks like. So I'm searching for server name, which isn't in there, so you go all the way to the bottom and add it in this particular version. So I'm just going to call it the name of my system, dot something. We'll just leave it, it doesn't matter. Save that. And hopefully it won't moan when I run Apache CTL config test. That's just me checking that the file was saved well. There are many other configuration files in there, but it's quite happy now, so that's good. And you can actually use the system command, systemctl. I keep typing research for some reason. You need to correctly type that in. It's not something you do every day. I keep saying this. Restart. It's not something you do every day, so I sometimes get them the wrong way around. But you should see now that I have my default Apache web page come up, which is this one here, and that's stored in /var/www. That's where the standard installations go on most Linux and Unix systems, although on Unix you can specify. So we can edit that using gedit, GNU edit. I'm just using multiple browsers just to give you examples of the different things that are available. I could have used Eclipse, and if I'd installed Phpstorm I could have used that as well, but I haven't for this demonstration. This is a fresh install, so I'm just typing something in there so you can see that this is my actual web page that you're seeing in the browser. You'll see my message, Elaine added this. Oh, there it is. So now you can see that Apache is working. The next thing to do is to check the MySQL and get the PHP on there. So we need to make sure that we can start the server for MySQL. But before doing so, just make sure it's quite secure, because the default installation may come with all sorts of issues. I would actually use the Validate Password plugin, but not on this demonstration. And that's because I don't want to make it too difficult to do quick demos. But obviously on a live or a development system, you would really want to make it highly secure. Get rid of all of the test systems, which gives people a way in. So we've secured MySQL. Everything should be set up nicely, and now we can go and install PHP. So I'm just going to search for this because there are new versions out, so you need to know the actual name. This is a way of doing that using less. I've piped it to less, which has grabbed me all of the PHP and just given me the files that I need. Now there's php-dev there, which I will install in a future installation, but for a very basic installation, just a basic PHP, you just need to use PHP with a couple of other options. There it is. Now you can install a length, so you can list the packages that you want to install all in one, but I'm doing them all separately. So I've just installed PHP on its own. It's now creating all the configuration files. As you scroll up, you can see where they're all going. You can see user bin is used. So now to add the extra things to connect PHP to MySQL and the other Apache as well. So that gives you the interface between PHP and the web server, and PHP and MySQL. Well, not that one, the one we've just installed is for the Apache interface. And this is for allowing for encryption to take place for the passwords, encrypt. So as I said, you could list all of those. So that was for the MySQL interface. They could all be listed in one apt-get install and then list all the packages. So they do not need to be separate. Now just go into the Apache directory again and just having a look to make sure that it is configured correctly. What I'm doing now is just making sure that index.php is the default that it looks for first, rather than after Perl, which is PL, and after CGI. So I want PHP to be the default file, otherwise HTML. I'm using VI again, so I had to press escape and D to delete that letter. So I'm restarting my Apache web server now with all of that configuration set up, and you will see that we can go to the Apache web service directory, and I'm making myself a quick PHP script using the echo command. I'm just echoing that string, and instead of putting it on the screen, I'm filtering the output into a file called info.php. and that's now a PHP file. So if you have a look, you'll see you've got a script there. I'm going to test that script in the browser, and that should show us the PHP configuration as seen there. So that's quite useful to have, but I wouldn't keep that in the directory because it gives useful information about your configuration to any potential hackers on your system. So take that away now. It's quite quick to make, so you don't need to keep it there. So the next thing I said I would install is Chrome. That's called Chromium. My problem is I put a capital C there, but just to check, to show you, what happens when you just make up the names. They are very specific and case sensitive, so you just want to use lowercase, and that will install Chromium. So it's not happy with that for some reason. So now you can see my applications are building up. All my files, you can navigate using the graphical interface. You don't have to always use the command or the terminal. And if you want to, you can go and find more software using this tool instead of having to use apt-get install for everything. But not everything will be listed in here. So sometimes it's a good idea to learn the apt-get install commands. So here I'm just installing a PHP editor instead of Phpstorm, using the Ubuntu software tool instead, just to give you an example of how to do that as well. And you'll see that that should start to show up when you search for it. Very simple editor, but again it might be something you need, just something quick and easy, doesn't take too many resources. You just type some basic PHP script in there as normal. One of the simplest scripts that you can have in PHP. That's fine, it just wants me to choose a file, a directory that I'm allowed to edit. So I've recreated the file that I deleted earlier, and I just want to put a message there to show that that is from myself. So we can look in the browser and make sure that that's my version. It didn't save, and I wonder why. Because I'm not administrator and I haven't got access to that area. So you can't just save anywhere. Which makes sense. You wouldn't be able to save on the C drive in a college, or some businesses would protect certain drives, so you need to place it into an area that you're allowed to save your files in. I can save it into my area, no problem. cd takes me back to my home directory, although I am super user, so that didn't exactly work. I need to go navigate to it myself, but you can see it has saved info in there, so I'm obviously only allowed to save in my area, which makes sense. And then as super user I need to copy it into the Apache's web area. So now I'm going to set up Apache so that a user can host their own web pages in their own directories, which you would use for a development environment, not for a live system, or not like this anyway. You would need to set up improved URL, search engine friendly URLs. So what I've just done is a2nmod user dir, that's what you need to do to activate the user dirs and restart Apache. Now I'm going into the configuration area and I'm going to set up the user directory. This might be slightly different on different systems. It might be httpd rather than Apache 2. You need to know the name of this file. And so what I need to do now is allow users to be able to host web pages in their directories. So you make sure you have these new settings in there. Allow from all. So that's all directories, not just var www.html. So escape :wq. That's just showing you where Apache is. Another little command that I just thought I'd throw in there. I'm trying to use the history, but it's taking longer, so let me just restart it this way, or find out the information this way. It's important to know the version of Apache. It's minus lowercase v and not uppercase v. That just showed you all the hassle if you choose the wrong one. Depending on the version that you have, you would put different options in here. So my one, that's all it needs in order for it to, sorry, that one was for a different version, so this is what I need. I need require all granted for this version of Apache. You would want to look at the Apache manuals online to work out what you need to type in to allow user directory hosting of web pages. So this is allowing me to have my user directories host the pages using public_HTML, and it says comment the following lines out. I'm just pressing escape to go into command and then I to insert a hash. If you make mistakes, then you have to go escape, dd for delete the line, or D to delete the character. So I'm in insert mode, I'm going down and pressing hash, now I'm pressing escape, WQ, :WQ. That's using the Vi editor. Most people don't use the Vi editor, just find one that you prefer to use. So I'm using a different command to restart it, service space Apache 2 restart. That's now running again with the new configuration. I'm going to log in as a user now, so I'm not super user, and I'll need to make my HTML directory in there. You can now see public HTML, so if I go into that, there's nothing in there, so I need to make myself a web page or script of some sort. I'm just going to copy the one that I copied over to var www.html. I can copy that file, that's okay, because I'm making a copy of it, so I'm not trying to change the existing or original, I'm just making a copy of it. So that's my HTML, which is the original Ubuntu Apache version, as the default page when you install Apache. I'm just changing it a little bit so that you can see that I added that bit of text. I just found an appropriate place to do so, and then use the tilde to access your user area. And as you can see, that's my file that I've copied across. And now I need to go and find my change that I made, which is hidden away. Very difficult, I put it in a silly place. So I'm just showing you that you can edit this using another editor, a little bit easier to use. You can't do /search as you could in Vi though, and that's quite handy. And I'm just working out where I put this thing. This wasn't a good place for me to easily find it, so I'm going to add it here, just to prove that this is the file that I'm working on and it's in my home area. So you press Ctrl X and then press save. Test it's working by refreshing the browser, and as you can see, that's all good. You do need to use the tilde. You can't just put /Elaine as a search engine friendly URL for this. Remember, this is for development, not for production. So hopefully you've got something to work with now. So that's just showing that that belongs to me. Just giving you a quick example of the ownership that was automatically set by default. So we've checked GNU compiler, installed idle, installed Eclipse with C and C++ and web, installed LAMP and various PHP modules, ran the Apache restart, and now I'm just going to go and do a little bit of testing on that and see what happens. Sorry, that was a little bit quick there. Don't know what happened then. So I'm back in my PHP editor, just trying out the last thing I said I would do. So save that in my, as you can see, in public HTML. Just make sure that all runs. So yeah, you can just use this basic PHP editor. That's very quick and doesn't take many resources. There are other editors that you can get hold of if you wish. Just experiment with them. Don't really worry about it. Like I said, you can always remove them quite easily. You can see the remove button there. You don't need to keep them at all if you're not happy with them. you might find that these smaller, lightweight environments are better for you to use. Don't know if you can hear that noise in the background. It's my dog running around being crazy, wanting attention, which I'll have to give in a moment. Yep, testing using Bluefish. So as you can see, there's a number of free and quick and easy environments to use. Put bits of code in there for you if you want help. But generally you'll just get yourself a template and edit that for a lot of your programming, unless of course you are the template developer yourself, in which case you'll need some more powerful tools than these. But it's good for experimentation, trying things out quickly. Doesn't take long to load up, and you can do some quick demonstrations. Yeah, so just have a play, see how you get on with the different tools. It is down to your personal preference in the long term. Just make sure that you're happy with the different tools that you're using. I'm just showing you various things here. Adding emphasis, centering text, just basic HTML. Okay, so good luck with your experimentation, and thank you for watching.